This segment is brought to you by JigMasters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to JigMasters.com and use promo code PNF20 and save 20% off your next jig order today.
Welcome to the Bass, Kayak, and Beer segment on the Paddle and Fin Network. It's your host Armando Solan, and on this segment, we kick back with a special guest and talk about life, kayak fishing, and the pursuit of big bass. So get your cold brews on and enjoy the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to the Bass, Kayak, and Beers Network, presented by Douglas Rods. Go check out douglasoutdoors.com and check out their full lineup of bait casting, spinning, and even fly fishing rods. Some of the best rods in the business, top of the line stuff. So go check them out douglasoutdoors.com to find the nearest authorized dealer to you. Today we have a very special guest, Mason Good, a young stud who made some moves in the KBBT. He's no stranger to the tournament scene. We're getting to know him, and you're going to start hearing his name. If you haven't already, make some noise on the KBBT and other future tournaments. Wherever he goes, I'm pretty confident this dude is going to make some noise, and you're going to hear a lot from him. So, Mason, thank you so much for tuning into, or I'm sorry, not tuning in, but coming into my podcast, Bass, Kayak, and Beers. I really appreciate it. How are you? How's the family?
Good. Thank you for having me.
No problem, man. My pleasure. So, Mason, tell us a little bit about yourself. For those people, they may not know you. They may not know you. Sorry. I know you're pretty young and you're pretty new to the tournament scene. You made your big splash on the KBBT, the National Qualifier. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you're from, how you got into fishing to begin with, how that transferred to kayak fishing, and your love and passion for kayak fishing.
I grew up in the same town I live in. It's Avoca, Iowa, pretty small town, southwest corner of Iowa. I started fishing at a real young age. My dad and my uncles kind of got me into it, and it was just something we like to do, like to be in the outdoors, hang out on the lake for most of the day. That's kind of what we did. So I started fishing real young. I got into kayak fishing, I would say 3 years ago. It would have been the year after I graduated high school, and I did one semester of college. And it's like, that's kind of when I really got into the kayak fishing. I really got into fishing like heavy for myself my senior year of high school, and just kept going from there. I started out with a Bass Pro Ascend FS10 10-foot small kayak, and then beginning of last year when I got into my first tournament, right before I got into my first tournament, I decided I needed something a little bit bigger than a 10-foot sit-inside kayak. So I upgraded and I bought a Jackson Coosa FD.
Nice.
I like the kayak. For the most part, it was a great kayak, very stable, durable. The only thing I didn't like about it was like the prop. It had the fan blade that spins, and around here with all the hydrilla and grass and weeds in the lake, it kind of made it a pain. So at the beginning of this year, I upgraded to a Hobie PA12.
Nice.
And so that's what I'm fishing out of now.
Awesome. How do you like your Hobie compared to your Coosa?
I love it. I feel like the deck space is so much bigger. You're not packed in there. Your feet have room to move, and then the fins are just so much nicer than like a propeller type blade.
I agree. I do the Hobie Outback myself, and East Texas lakes like Athens, they're really grassy from top to bottom.
Yeah.
It makes the fins makes it so much easier than going through a propeller. Nothing wrong with the Kusan or any other kayaks. That's the beauty about this sport. There's a kayak for everyone out there. I'm not trying to put down anyone, or I'm not sponsored by Hobie, but I really like that. That's something you can highlight about the Hobie. That fins make it a lot easier for an angler to go through grass. So it may not be a big difference if you live somewhere high up in the mountains like Utah or other places where you don't have a lot of grass. But when you have grassy lakes, it really does make a difference. So cool, man. That's awesome. So you were talking about your first tournament or your debut as a tournament angler. Which one was it?
So my first tournament was through my local club of Iowa Kayak Anglers. It was a rough tournament. We went to a place called Lake Icaria, and it was like, I want to say it was middle of April. Like, I believe it was like April 18th or something. And so when we launched on the lake, it was 22 degrees outside.
Oh my God.
So at 5 a.m., 22 degrees outside. It warmed up throughout the day, but it was so hard. We had, if I remember correctly, we had like almost 70 anglers sign up for that tournament. Yeah, it was probably one of our biggest tournaments, I believe, if I remember that correctly. So like we had a lot of anglers. And I think only 12 people caught fish.
No.
So like, it was a crazy day, and that was my first tournament ever, my first live tournament. And it just, I don't know, I'm almost kind of glad it happened that way.
Mm-hmm.
So like I was looking forward to the next one. I was waiting for the next one to happen. And the next one came, and it was so much more fun, and it wasn't that cold, and I caught fish. And so then after that, I just, when's the next live tournament? And like it kept wanting me to scratch that itch for when's the next live tournament.
Yeah, those the big props to and kudos to you guys in Iowa. I mean, 22 degrees. I live in Texas. You open a tournament with 22 degrees, you ain't got no Texas kind of thing. I'm like, nope, we're starting around noon.
Yeah.
5 a.m., 22 degrees.
Pants.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I was wearing snow pants, boots, and a Carhartt coat.
Damn, that's crazy, man. But hey, I mean, you can't always be a fair weather fisherman. That's the thing about kayak fishing. If you want to really grasp and enjoy it, I feel kind of bad when you see all this fair weather, whether it's boat fishermen or bank fishermen or kayak fishermen, they only go when it's nice. You're missing out on a lot of more stuff. The challenge, you stack the odds against you, and when you get that fish, even if you don't win a tournament, but just catching a fish, man, it's the reward you get out of like, man, I braved the elements. I went head to head with Mother Nature and I caught a fish. It's awesome, man. I like it. So big props to you. I'd be honest, I don't think I would have gone to 5 a.m. for 22-degree weather. But hey, when you live in Iowa, that's what you got to do. Fortunately, we don't have many of those days over here. So you made your name for yourself here in the national qualifier in the KBBT. Now, was this your first KBB tournament?
No, I did the May bracket. That was their second one, the May bracket. I got in on that. I was knocked out by a fellow Iowan, Tyler Cole, and
Tyler Cole, very good.
I had, I think, a 93.5 inches that day.
Wow.
And I got knocked out to his 98.5. And
Jesus.
Yeah, so that was a rough one. But then after that, I partnered up with Jeremy Brandis, and him and I fished the KBBT team event, and we went out in the first round against Derek Brundle and Matthew Conant.
That's a tough matchup.
Yeah, and that was a rough one too, because Jeremy went out there and fished phenomenal both days, and I was catching fish most of the day on both days. I just couldn't find any big ones. Like I was stuck on like a 16-inch pattern.
Mm.
And, so we got knocked out first round on that one. And then this last one, the qualifier, was my third tournament with KBBT.
That was pretty good showing too. Before we get into that, on the May bracket, what round you got knocked off?
I think it was the third round.
Third round. So that
we did the 128 anglers.
yeah, that was a big one. Yeah,
I believe it was the third round.
Yeah, that's nothing to sneeze about. And again, you put how many inches? 94 or something?
I think it was 93 and a half.
93 and a half.
Yeah, to his 98 and a half.
Yeah, that's nothing to hang your head down low. I mean, you got to be proud of that number. It's like when you put up a number like that, I mean, you fully expect that you're going to win.
Yep, yeah.
Especially if you're in Iowa. If you're in Texas, you'll say, like, I got a little bit more than 50-50. But in Iowa, you must have been thinking you had this in the bag, right? Were you surprised when you saw that you didn't, now you didn't know, because I know you guys, between yourself, some of you guys will text each other and let each other know. So, and you keep it hush hush, but when the reveal comes, it's not a surprise to you because maybe you already talked to your fellow competitor. Now, was that the case, or were you just going blind into the reveal show?
No, Tyler, Cole, and I were talking back and forth most of the day. And so he told me what he had, because at one point he was sitting at 93 and a quarter, and I caught a big fish. I think it was a 21 and a half. And so I got up to 93. So I was like super pumped. I was like, I'm only a quarter inch behind. We can still do this. And he texted me like probably a half hour after the boards went down and said, hey, I just culled 6 inches. Like 6 inches. So we were talking back and forth, and I knew what he had, he knew what I had, even after the boards went down. So but here in Iowa, we do that. Even if we're going against each other, if you were to say, hey dude, what do you got? I'm sitting at this number, they're gonna tell you. Like, that's just how close we are and how we do things.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I know Greg will like the reveal show to be for the fans and the audience, but with between you and your fellow competitor, there's nothing wrong with that. Definitely. Yeah. How did you feel knowing, like, man, I just put up 93 inches and I'm being knocked out? Was there were you disappointed? Or were you just proud of yourself? And because at that point you just say, hey man, I mean, I did what I did. I mean, you can't be disappointed in your showing. Obviously you're going to be disappointed that you didn't go to the next round. But how did you feel when you found out?
It was mainly like I was happy with how much I put up, because especially that was earlier in the year, and I was 93 inches. That was a great day. So I wasn't hanging my head low, but like in the back of my head, I was just thinking, Tyler Cole, like, come on, what is with you, man? And him and I go back and forth about that all the time. He gives me crap, and I give him crap about it, because he tied his best single day showing at 98 and a half inches. And so I was like, you just happened to put out your best day the one day you're going against me. And so yeah, we give each other grief about it, but
it's all good, friendly trash talk, right?
Exactly, that's what it is.
So fast forward to the national qualifier. Let's go round by round, if you can remember, because I know there was a lot of rounds on this, and it was, when you look back, the first one was what, about a month and a half ago?
Yeah.
So first round, how was the first one for you?
So I was thrown into the bracket very last minute. I want to say, so the first Saturday, we're round one on that first Saturday, I got into the bracket the Thursday before.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a few days, and I was fishing the Hobie event on the Mississippi River, pool 789.
Mm-hmm.
And so they text me, they're like, hey, we had somebody drop out. are you cool to go in the bracket? And I immediately said yes. And then I kind of sat there and I was like, well, shoot, I'm going to be on the river. I don't know if I'm going to put up over 80 inches. So this might be a tough one. And I was also thrown in on the east side of the bracket instead of the west side.
Yeah.
And so week one, I fished the Hobie event, and we had to be off the water by 2 p.m. And if you cast after 2, you can get disqualified. So I had 2 hours cut off right away at the end of the day. But I put up 75 inches, I believe it was. And
let me see. I actually have it here somewhere. 70. I think it's 74. So, wow. 75 and a quarter. You got it.
Yep. So 75 and a quarter, and my opponent only put up 1 fish. So that kind of helped me out to get me through week one. That since he only put up 1 fish and I did catch 75 inches, helped me get past round 1.
Awesome. That's not bad. I mean, were you even though you passed to the next round, were you kind of disappointed considering everything? You know, like you mentioned, you lost 2 hours because you're in the Hobie. You're fishing out of a river, which you probably would have. I'm assuming, going by what you said, you probably would have fished, a lake or quote unquote a honey hole. So
Yeah.
were you even though you passed on, like at the end of the day, by the time lines were out for you for the Hobie and KBBT, did you already knew by talking to the other angler that you were gonna pass, or you had no idea on this case?
No, I didn't have any idea.
So how comfortable were you that you were gonna pass when you considered 74 a quarter?
I looked at it and I was like, that's not very much. But I really wasn't paying that close attention to it because I knew he posted 1 fish early in the day and then didn't post anything else. And I saw a couple other guys on the East bracket. I looked at their numbers and they really didn't have anything posted either. So I was kind of assuming he only caught 1 fish, but I didn't really know. And I also thought about it. I was like, well, I kind of jumped in the bracket at the last minute. Like, I'm on the east side. I don't know how far I'm even going to make it. So, like, it wasn't a big deal. Plus, I was hanging out with all the Iowa guys at the Hobie event.
Yeah.
And it's like just talking to them, doing our tournament identifier stuff. And I just didn't even cross my mind. I kind of didn't even think
you were
about
just
it.
soaking in the Hobie BOS kind of thing, not paying, because at that point it's more about the camaraderie. You're with the fellow anglers from Iowa. You're in your kind of like your zone. So KBBT, no disrespect, but it's an afterthought right now because you're in a live tournament. So I get that. Yeah, I see that. Now we're going to the second round. That's when you started catching fire, right? You put 89 inches on the second round.
Yep. Yeah. The second round, I went back to my honey hole, my home spot, and I put up 89 inches, and I felt pretty comfortable with that. And I just fished and had a fun day, and then by the time it was time to get off the water, I was good to go, and I was pretty confident.
Awesome. And then after that is I think from there that was the Sweet 16 where you put 98 and a quarter inch. How did that feel? How was that day for you?
That one felt great because I was going up against Matthew Conant, and
great angler, by the way.
Yeah, very good angler. He's a great angler, and on the team's bracket, Jeremy Brandis and myself lost to Matthew Conant and Derek Brundle. So I was thinking I got to put up a huge number to beat Matthew Conant. And if I can beat Matthew Conant, then I'm going to face Derek Brundle. So I got to beat Derek Brundle too. So it was kind of like I wanted to do it just because they beat us in the team tournaments.
Yeah.
But I also like to kind of like redeem myself a little bit since I did
Yeah.
poorly in the team tournament. And I went out there, and my lake I know has those big numbers, and I knew I could do that. And I went out in the morning, and the bite was on. The big fish were eating, and it worked out great for me.
Awesome. Now, by then, you're going to the Elite Eight. You know you're going to face Derek Brundle, which is one of the best anglers out there. No disrespect to you and any of the other competitors, but Derek Brundle, has made a name for himself out there. But now you weren't going head to head, but your numbers compared to Derek, you were overshadowing Derek Brundle. I mean, I think on the Sweet 16, you weren't going head to head with him, but you caught like 4 or 5 inches. Your bag was like 4 or 5 inches more than his. And then on the next one, that's when you put 98. He put up a decent number, but in total, I mean, when you look at the measurements, you were going way ahead of Derek Brundle. You had to, even though you're going against Derek Brundle, you had to feel good about your chances facing Derek Brundle. How did you feel when you like, okay, now I got Derek Brundle? Was it? Let me ask you this: was it intimidating for you, or did you just saw Derek Brundle as any other angler competitor?
A little bit of both. I looked at Derek Brundle as any other guy, any other person I have to face. I got to go against him. But at the same time, I was a little intimidated because I know he's good, and I know I just beat Matthew Conant.
Yeah.
And now to kind of redeem myself from that team bracket, I got to beat both the guys on that opposite team. And so going into it, I was a little intimidated by that, kind of putting more pressure on myself than anything else. But I talked to Derek Brundle a few days before the tournament, and he's like, hey, I'm fishing a live event. I'm going to be lucky to put up 75 inches. He's like, I've been pre-fishing, and 75 inches is about my max. So I was like, okay. And I didn't go to my big fish honey hole. I went to a lake right next to it, and I kind of took it easy. I probably shouldn't have because it was a very close matchup, but I kind of took it easy. And so I was fishing. I got up to like 75 inches, and I was like, okay. He said this is probably about where he's going to be at. So maybe I can just kind of fish around for a little bit, not really fish hard. So I got off the water and I went and ate some food. I went up to a Subway, got lunch, and I was sitting there in the parking lot eating my food. And I looked back down on the boards. And he jumped up to 79 inches. So he was beating me by 4 inches. And I only had like 3 hours left of fishing. So then I got into like a little bit of a panic mode. I was like, I need to get back out on the water right now and start fishing and not take it easy on this guy. Like, I should not have even thought about taking it light because he is Derek Brundle.
You took your foot off the gas for a second there.
Yeah. And so I got back out on the water, and I caught a few upgrades pretty quickly. I got up to 83 inches, and he got up to 81 and a quarter, something like that. And,
let me look at it real quick. But go ahead, keep going. I'm sorry I interrupted you there.
No, you're right. So I had I think it was like 83 something there, and he had like 81, and he texted me and said, hey, I'm getting off the water. My live event's over with, and congrats on the win. Like, you did good. And so I congratulated him too on his live tournament. He placed 4th, so that's pretty good AOY points for him. And so we talked for a few minutes, and then he got off the water, and I kind of fished around for another half hour or so. And and then I got off the water, and then the reveal was kind of scary because last time I looked at the board, I had like 83 and he had 79. So I thought
You got 83 and a half. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was sitting at 83 and a half and he was sitting at 79. So I was like, okay, I got him by 4.5 inches. Pretty good. And then so we get to the reveal and Greg's like, all right, Mason Good, Derek Brundle, winner by 3/4 of an inch. And I was freaking out. I was like, wait a minute, did he like pull back a fish and post it at the end? And did he beat me by 3/4 of an inch? And nope, that wasn't the case, thankfully. And I went back and I looked at the board again and I saw what he put up. And so it was fun to make it close and like interesting for the people watching. Only 3/4 of an inch. That's not a lot.
Yeah.
So that was fun, but I was also like, I was getting nervous because I thought maybe I blew this. Like maybe I was out fishing too easy all day, and he did come back and take it from me. But luckily, I snuck past, and I got to win on that one too.
Good. Did you learn anything from that? Because you let him off the hook for a second. Were you like, even if you you passed, but even after that, were you kicking yourself thinking, this is not what champions do. You don't lift your foot off the gas. Not,
yeah,
even more so when it's a guy like Derek Brundle. I mean, you just can't, right?
Yeah, I was. So kind of what I was thinking going into was I'm not going to fish my honey hole. I'm going to fish right next to it, and I'm just going to put up enough to beat him. Yeah. So the next week, I was figuring I was going up against Kyle Zemke for the Final Four. So I was like, Kyle's been putting up consistent numbers in the low 90s. So I need to save my fish and to take on him. And so that was what I went in. And then, after realizing it was that close and how I just fished easy and like didn't really have any like execution factor.
Yeah, you didn't have that killer instinct going in.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't have that, and it almost cost me that tournament. So
then after that, you pretty much redeemed yourself, putting up 99.5 inches. Is that the biggest limit you've ever caught?
Yes, that's my biggest single day limit.
And then you were going against Kyle Semke, which at that point, Kyle Semke was just slaying up and down. I mean, you and Kyle Semke were kind of like battling each other throughout, as for the best average. Kyle Semke was on a tear.
Yeah.
And you just completely blew him out of the water. How did that feel?
I felt good. I kind of felt bad because where I'm at, I was on the water, I think 2 hours before him. So I had 96.25 inches before he even got on the water. Mm-hmm. And so now being the Final Four the Final Four leading into the championship, honestly, I probably, because I had 96 inches by like 9 o'clock or something like that.
Wow.
I think at 8 o'clock when he got on the water, I had like 94. And then by 9:30, I think I had 96. By 10 o'clock, I should have just got off the water and let those fish rest for the championship. But I didn't. I wanted to put up the highest.
You didn't want to make the same mistake.
Basically. Exactly. And by 10 o'clock, I was at 96, and I knew there's more big fish in there. My goal for that day was to hit 100 inches. If Kyle would have beat me, but I got 100 inches, it wouldn't have mattered. My goal was to hit 100 inches, period. That was the only thing I was thinking about after 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I couldn't quite do it. I tried. I was out there until the very last minute, trying to get that 100-inch mark, and I just couldn't find that last half an inch.
You know, go ahead. I'm sorry. Were you going to add something else? I apologize.
No.
That I wanted to go back to. Okay, so that that round with Derek Brundle, because I mean, hindsight is always 20/20. But talking to you now and analyzing, it's one of those things where one mistake didn't cost you your round against Derek Brundle, but in a way, it kind of costs you your final, because now on one end you let the foot off the pedal and you realize how close you were to having that mistake cost you. So in the second tournament, now you're going against Semke. Now Semke's putting up big numbers. You're at 96 and plus, and it's 10 a.m. You had to feel comfortable, and you kind of touched on it. So I was thinking, before you even said it, I was actually thinking, I'm glad you mentioned it. Was there any thought that says, hey, I qualified to the national championship. I'm already at 96 inches. Even though Semke has put up some numbers, your chances of passing to the final with 96 inches it's pretty high. You know, it's going to be hard to beat. I know now, you looking back at it, you already answered this question, but at the moment, was there any thought to say, hey man, let's just stop there, roll my dice with 96, which is a pretty good hand to roll your dice with, and let the fish rest, and then and see if I can duplicate this the next day. Because at that point, it was back to back. There wasn't a week, 5 days in between one round the other. So was there any thought at that point when you were at 96 to say, should I take my foot up the pedal? No, I already did that with Derek Brundle, already cost me. I'm going full throttle. Take me through that mindset.
Yeah, so going into Saturday, I was thinking Zemke's going to put up 94. If I get 96, I'm safe. If I get 96, I win. He's going to put up 94, though. So I got to get 96. And I right before 10 a.m., I hit the 96 and a quarter. And I did. I sat there in the middle of the lake, and I was like, maybe I should just get off the water and let these fish rest and just come back tomorrow. And I thought about it for a while, but at that point, I was like,
Derek Brundle decision was going to hunt you.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? No, I want to get 100 inches. Like, I want to get 100 inches in a single day tournament. That was my goal. And so I kind of threw out the leaving at 10 a.m. I threw that out the window. I probably should have done it. I probably should have left at 10 and went back to that same spot in the championship. And it might have been a different story on Sunday. Sunday could have been a different story. Who knows? But no, after I thought about it, I decided I want 100 inches in one day. And so that's kind of how it went down. I didn't really think about the gamble of will 96 inches be good enough or not. I knew if I had 96 inches, I was going to win. But I wanted that 100-inch mark, and I just couldn't do it.
Now, you go into the finals, you're going to go against Marcus Coates. I love Marcus Coates. He knows it. But he did struggle, and he got fortunate during the early rounds. He was still trying to figure out his bite. Now, Marcus Coates is a great angler. Take nothing away from it. But he'll tell you himself, 77 and plus inches, not enough to get you through any round. But he did. And, I wouldn't say he got lucky because he's a great angler. But he was fortunate that this competition had a bad day. It wasn't like he was blowing competition out of water. He had a few, high outliners out there that were really high. But at this point, he's trying to figure stuff out. He has been a little bit inconsistent, jumping from 76 to 90 to 80 plus. You're going from 90, from hitting the high 90s mark consistently. How do you feel your chances going into the final round against Marcus Coates?
So, one thing with like the like the 77 inches, it's really it's up to your competitor, because
Yeah.
I had the 75 inches on week 1, and the
Yeah.
only reason I got by is because my competitor only caught 1 fish.
Yeah.
And Derek Brundle, I barely scraped by that one. So I wouldn't hold that against Marcus at all, because I barely scraped by on 2 of the weeks for sure. And we like to give him a little crap about it. It's fun, but still, I wouldn't hold that against him at all. I know the May bracket, I gave Jeremy Brandis a hard time because he was like 85 inches or something like that was kind of his average, and he was just kind of scraping by. He just like put up just enough inches to beat his opponent. And in this type of bracket, that's all you really have to do. You don't have to put up 99.5 inches. You just got to beat your opponent. And if you beat your opponent by 2 inches or 10 inches, it doesn't really matter. After that week's done, you got to think about the next week. So, it's just got to beat your opponent on him. But going into that final weekend, I thought to myself, it's going to take more than 94 inches to beat Kyle Zemke. So if I get 96, I'll be safe.
Mm-hmm.
With Marcus, I thought he's going to get 91 inches. So I'm going to need 93 to beat him. So going into that weekend, I thought I needed to fish my honey hole and fish as hard as I could on Saturday to beat Zemke. And if I did, then, not saying Marcus was going to be easier, but I thought I'm going to need 3 inches less to beat him. And that's kind of how the mindset went in going into that weekend.
So when you're out there in the water for the final tournament, you and I talked about this on the pre-recording, and I had talked to Marcus about it. Just conversation, not necessarily in the podcast. Me and I were talking about it. He felt that you pressured yourself, and that got you. That might have gotten you out of the game. Do you feel that's the case, that you felt like the pressure of trying to win, you took decisions that you normally wouldn't have, you struggle with your confidence or something like that? Or did you just feel this is one of those things where you just overfish your honey hole and you're bound to have a bad day? Which, again, a bad day, I think it was like 89 inches that day. I mean, it wasn't a really bad day, but compared to, you had 84.5. So it wasn't necessarily the worst day, but it definitely wasn't the numbers that you had. So what do you think, what do you attribute to you not reaching at least that 90-inch benchmark?
That one, so on Saturday, I burned out my honey hole. I fished it 99.5 inches. I burned it out. So going into Sunday, I was talking to some of my other fellow Iowa anglers, and I got a couple spots from them, places I'd never fished before. So that was kind of like a little bit out of my comfort zone for the championship. I had 2 lakes picked out, and neither one of them I had ever been to. So when I got to the first lake, and the first lake is 2 hours east of me. So I got there in the morning, got launched at 6, fished at about 8 o'clock. Some storms were starting to roll in. So I was kind of fishing through that a little bit. And then I had lightning all around me, and it was dark, and it was windy, and it was raining hard. And so I pedaled back to the boat ramp, and I was going to go over to my second lake, which was another half hour east. So that makes it 2.5 hours east from where I live. And so I was going to go there, and I looked at the radar, and the storm that was at that first lake was moving right to the second one. So right there is when I kind of started putting pressure on myself. I was trying to make a hard decision of, do I stick around in eastern Iowa and wait for these storms to pass and go back out on these waters and try to find those big fish, or do I drive 2.5 hours back west to where I live and go to my honey hole? And that was a big decision during a tournament. Did I make the right decision? I don't know. Maybe if I would have stayed, I would have done better. Maybe I wouldn't have.
Mm-hmm.
But I made the decision to drive back through the storm, back to my honey hole. And I got there, and it was cloudy and kind of sprinkling all morning. But at 10 o'clock when I got there, the clouds went away, the sun went straight up. And so then that, I think, kind of put a little bit more pressure on me, because I knew I just wasted 2 hours driving when I should have been fishing. I was thinking I still had a chance. I just needed a couple big ones that I know are in there. I know those big fish are in there. I just needed to get them to bite, but I knew it was going to be hard after putting up such a big limit as I did the day before. And the bite was slow. Like, it was one bite every, I don't know, half hour or so. It's like, it was a little bit slower than what I'm used to on that body of water. But I did catch, I think, 2 upgrades right when I got there. And that kind of jumped me up in the leaderboards. Like, I was feeling good, but I wasn't feeling good enough to be comfortable. And I knew that as the day went on, the bite was just going to get a little bit harder and a little bit harder. And I think that kind of got to me too. I started fishing my creature bait a little bit faster. I was throwing a chatterbait. I was reeling it in a little bit faster. And I wasn't giving it the time in the water that it kind of needed. And so I do think I did put a little bit too much pressure on myself, and moved my baits faster than what I should have been to be getting that bite.
I think that's especially when you're kind of new to kayak fishing or fishing in general. I think that's one of the things that it's the hardest to get used to, slowing down. I constantly, when I'm struggling, it's kind of talk to myself, slow down, going too fast, slow down. And a lot of times it works. One of the things that I found out early on when I was fishing is, like, sometimes I'll be out fishing on a bank or a kayak, and I'll get a text message or an email, or the wife would call, or whatever. And so I, leave the bait on the water, and I, attend to whatever I am, social media, whatever. Few seconds run by, and then I move the bait, and immediately, boom, I get a hit. And that kind of has taught me, it's like you gotta move slower, especially when it's high pressure, when the weather conditions are one extreme, either too hot or too cold. You've got to be more patient. It's not always easy. I mean, I love throwing a weightless Senko. If I'm catching fish, but God, it crushes my soul.
I agree.
If I was me, I would be throwing jackhammers and chatterbaits and just burning them. Especially when you're frustrated when you're not catching fish. You just want to lay down that hammer and rip some hooks with the next hook set that you have, and you constantly have to stay within your game. It's easier said than done. It's easier said than people say, and it takes a lot of time and experience. Now, you for yourself, you've only been kayak fishing for 3 years, you said, and you're pretty young. We talked to the pre-show. You're only 22 years old. How do you think you've now, you obviously, this is recent, and you realize now in hindsight that you're doing, moving too fast. What do you plan to do to correct that in the future? Because there are going to be times where you're going to be struggling. There's Everybody goes through that. Every single one of them. So at one point, you're gonna go through a tournament and you're gonna struggle again. Have you thought about what are you gonna do to make sure you don't make those mistakes of fishing it too fast?
Yeah, one thing I did that I do kind of think helped, I think I just did it a little bit too late, was I went up to the bank and I got out of my kayak and I walked up the bank and just kind of like looked up at the sky just like to get the sun coming down on me and just kind of like stopped there, took a deep breath, blew a deep breath out, and walked back over to the kayak and kind of got back in the water. And I think just like that deep breath of air in and then just like blowing it out kind of like makes your body step back a little bit and be like, all right, it's time to calm down, time to clear your mind, just start fishing.
Yeah.
And I did do that, but I think by the time
too little, too late.
I only had 1 hour left, and it was just too little, too late. It definitely did help, I believe. I noticed when I was coming back with the chatterbait, I was going a little bit slower. I was being more patient with it. I wasn't rushing it. Where before I was, and I knew I was, and I kept telling myself, slow down. But just because I said it in my head, I wasn't actually doing it. Yeah,
it's something that it snowballs, man. Every cast, you just going faster. It's just the frustration just snowballs. We've all been there, man, and that's the beauty about the sport, though. It's not. There's a lot of mind games that go. There's so many. One thing that I love about kayak fishing is like, and I guess I played a little bit of golf, and you can compare a little bit. There are some similarities in the sense that at golf, you're never winning. All you do is you playing against yourself. Winning would be getting a hole in one on every single one of them, kind of thing. So fishing at best, you're getting a bite every. I mean, there are times where the bite's on fire. Every cast seems like you get a bite, but for the most part, you're fishing a 4 or 6 hour tournament. Out of 100 casts, you're getting 5 fish.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just saying numbers, but kind of like to give those listeners an idea. So it's one of those things. There's a lot that goes into the pre-planning, scouting, Google Maps, figuring out where the structure is, finding fish, marking them on your graph if you have one. If you're on a lake or a river, did they open the dam? Is there any current? How was the weather for the last 3 days? How is it today? Is there any big changes? Is there a cold front? What the water clarity is? What time of the year it is? If it's post-spawn, pre-spawn, are they getting ready to hibernate? Are they coming out of hibernate? Are they hungry? There's so much stuff, and then add all on top of that is the mind game that you have to play with yourself, that psyche that you have to I have to psych myself up or psych myself down to fish slower. It's very interesting, and I love it because there's always going to be something out there. You're never going to beat fishing, kind of thing, right? You're always going to have a challenge out there. You're never going to be the one that wins every single tournament. There's always going to be days where you're going to struggle. No matter how good you are, there is bound to be a day where you're going to skunk. So I think that's the beauty of it. You're never gonna get bored when you take it seriously and when you approach kayak fishing or fishing in general as an art form. And by that I mean studying it, figuring things out, and there's always something to learn. Because every body of lake is different. Every body of water is different. And even on your honey hole, different days is going to produce different results. So beauty of it, and the fact that we can do it on a tournament, and for some people actually make some money out of it, it's pretty awesome. Now, tell me about the overall experience on the KBBT? Because now this is your third tournament, so you're a seasoned veteran by now on the what we call the KBBT. So tell me about. Let's first of all talk about KBBT as an organization. How do you feel? I feel like Greg Nosa is doing a great job. All the tournament directors are doing a great job. How do you feel being part of that organization? Not the tournament it's seen, but the organization of KBBT.
I love it. They're great. They're doing everything they can think of to promote the organization, the anglers, anybody that's involved with it. They make it known. And Greg going out and doing the vacation and meeting different guys and talking to different guys and traveling, that's super cool. You don't see that. Yeah. And so that's awesome. I think they're doing a fantastic job, and it's just going to go up.
Awesome. It is very true. Now, as far as the tournament scene, the actual, the in-live tournament like the Hobie BOS, and by the way, I'll get your thoughts on the Hobie BOS because I've listened every single tournament angler I brought up. Just has the utmost respect and praise for AJ and the whole Hobie BOS tournament. I'll get your thoughts on that in a minute. But the difference between now going to a live event and the knockout stage. Now we know the difference, but for you, which one do you incline more to? Like, what do you rather be doing if you can only pick one, doing a live event or doing a knockout stage challenge? Which one would you rather do?
That's a hard one. I would lean towards the live event because I like going to new bodies of water. I like seeing like each lake is a beauty for a different reason.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I like the experience of going to different places. I like getting to see all the different kayakers that I don't get to talk to very often, kind of hang out with them.
Pick their brains.
Yeah, so I would have to say if I had to choose the live events, but it's close.
Yeah. Now tell me about your experience on the Hobie BOS. How many have you done?
I've only done one Hobie event.
How was that experience? Because again, every angler just has nothing but great things to say about AJ and the Hobie BOS. How was that experience for you? What do you like most about it?
It was great. It was cool to see that many anglers in one tournament, and the the board check, we went through that, and they've got their own special identifiers. I thought that was really neat. Really cool of them to do, and it was a fun tournament. I don't have anything bad to say about it. It was very enjoyable.
You looking forward to doing more Hobie BOS tournaments?
Yeah. I definitely like to do some more. I'm hoping next year they come back to the river, Pool 789. That would be awesome. I would definitely be there. I do want to travel and go to one of them, further south maybe, but I don't know which one yet.
Awesome, man. Well, Matt, we talked a lot about kayak fishing. I want to get listeners to get to know you a little bit better outside of kayak fishing. So we're going to do a little game called What the Heck. So it's going to be a bunch of questions, not a lot of them. Some of them are going to be fishing related. Some of them are going to be just goofy questions. So you ready?
Yeah.
Awesome. So first question. If I'm sorry, not that one. If you can talk to a bass, what would you ask him?
What would I ask?
One question. You can talk to a bass. what would you ask Bass? Just one question.
What's your favorite food?
That's a good one. That's a good one. If you can go, that's a good one. I like it. If you can go fish with someone, anybody out of history, whether somebody that already passed away or somebody that's still here, somebody that you wouldn't ordinarily have a chance to go fishing, who would you go kayak fishing with? You have one person to go all day kayak fishing. Who would it be?
Oh. I'd probably have to say go kayak fishing. Probably have to say Mike Iaconelli.
Mike Iaconelli.
That would be such a fun day. There'd
Yeah.
never be a dull moment with that guy.
No, totally
It
wouldn't.
would be so much fun.
That is true. That's a good choice. That's a good choice. Okay, you got a chance to break the Guinness World Record of one or the other. Biggest 5 limit or the biggest bass ever. Which one would you rather have?
So the biggest 5 limit bag or the biggest single bass?
Yeah. One of the two Guinness World Record. Which one would you do?
I'd go with the single bass.
That's true.
Yeah, I'd have to go with the single bass, and I'd have a replica of that thing on my wall.
Awesome. Good choice. Man, this is personal. You don't have to answer it if you don't want to. Have you ever been arrested? And if so, for what?
No, I have not.
Good. If humans came with a warning label, what would your warning label say?
What was the first part of that?
If humans came with a warning label, what would your warning label be?
Oh. Here, shout out to Jeremy Brandis if he sees this. I am not a morning person. That's my
all right.
warning label. Not a morning person.
do not disturb before so-and-so a.m. Okay.
Before I catch my first fish.
That's a good one. Cereal. Is it a soup? Why and or why not?
Is it a soup?
Yes. Is cereal a soup? Why or why not?
Ooh. I say no.
Why not?
I don't have an answer to that. I don't know.
So what's the difference between a soup and a cereal?
Cereal is cold with milk and takes 5 seconds to make. Soup is warm and takes longer to make it.
All right. Well, that's a good reason. Okay. If your office had or your work had a show and tell for adults, what would you be most proud to display? I'm kind of nervous about that one.
Honestly, I'd be taking my fishing trophies.
There you go.
That's
there you go. Last one. Do you have a favorite or particular number? Favorite number? Any particular reason why?
My favorite number is 30.
Why?
And I don't really know why I chose that number, but I played soccer ever since I was a little kid. And one year I got the number 30, and I think it was like my 5th grade year. I got the number 30, and I had that every year until my senior year of high school. That was my number for soccer, and I did football for a year, and that was my number for football also.
Soccer is 30 is kind of like a bench warming number, right?
Yeah, I was the highest number, like because we all stood in order by number, and I was always the last guy at the end.
That's what. So bonus questions. Any favorite soccer player? Or are you just not a fan of watching it? Messi?
Lionel Messi. I don't watch a whole lot of soccer, but Lionel Messi is my favorite dude.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Messi, big fan of Barcelona. I was devastated this weekend with that 8-2 loss to Bayern Munich, which I figure we're going to lose. Bayern Munich has an amazing team. That's a dream team right there, and I think they're going to go all the way. They already won their 2 domestic cups, and I think they're going to win the Champions League. And they're like mauling the competition, like
Yeah.
5-0, 4-0, and that 8-2. Oh my God! I was kind of hoping we. I was like, I don't think we're gonna win, but I mean, let's 3-2. Maybe
That's pretty
Messi pulls out
close.
something out of a magic hat, and maybe we win. But it was tough. But we'll see. We'll see what happens in the final. I think PSG just punched a ticket to the final. Lyon is going against Bayern Munich. Feel sorry for Lyon from France already. Anyways, Mason, thank you so much. Before I let you go, I'm going to give you a few minutes to thank anybody you want to thank, any sponsors. If you want to talk about a little bit about your social media, if you want to grow your social media, go ahead and take that opportunity. The floor is yours. Take as much time as you want, my man.
All right. I'd like to thank my dad and my uncles for getting me into fishing to start with. It was a great memory looking back, getting me into it, and then it's just helped me out so much since then. Like if I ever have a question, I can call up one of the 3 of them and be like, hey, this is where I'm at, or this is where I'm going to, and like what's some pointers, and they're always there to help me out. I'd also like to thank all the kayak guys in Iowa. Like we're so close knit that we share information, we help each other out, and this past 2 years they've helped me out a lot. Like Jeremy Brandis got me into kayak or into tournament fishing. I didn't know where to start or how to do it, and he got me into it. So that was a huge thing for me, because if not for that, I don't know if I ever would have got into it. Also, like the guys like Jordan Westerman, Tommy Thompson, Tyler Cole, James Francis, doing live tournaments with those guys and just kind of listening to what they were talking about how they work different lures and how they fish differently. I love listening to that stuff, hoping that next time I'm out on the water, I can kind of recall something they said and add that to my arsenal and catch some fish. So I'd like to thank all those guys too. I appreciate Iowa Kayak Anglers for having their local club. That is what got me into doing the tournaments here in Iowa. KBBT, I'd love to thank them for putting on such an amazing bracket tournament that is completely different than any other tournament there is. It pushes the angler so much more, and I also want to thank them for interviewing the anglers and digging into the anglers' lives as much as they do, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be on here talking to you. So I appreciate them for that. I want to thank you for
my pleasure, man.
up and asking me to be on here. It was a blast.
It was super fun, yes, sir.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Awesome, man.
That's about all I got. I don't have any sponsors. I'd like some.
Yeah,
that'd be cool, but don't have.
The way you're going, you might get some pretty soon.
Yep, that's the goal. That's what I want to do.
Mason, where can my listeners follow you? Follow your social media? You have a Facebook or Instagram or YouTube?
Yep. I have a Facebook, and I also have an Instagram. I need to get better about posting my fishing content on both of those. I did it for a while, and then for some reason I got lazy about it and I didn't do it as much. So I need to, especially on my Instagram, get back on there and start posting some more things. But yep, Facebook and Instagram, I have both of them.
So what's the name of each one?
Mason Good.
Mason Good, that's it?
Yeah, I believe so. I know Facebook's just Mason Good, and I think my Instagram is also Mason good.
Awesome. Well, Mason, thank you so much for taking the time, and I really, really enjoy talking to you, and having you share your experience and having a fun conversation. I look forward to what you're doing next. Are you gonna you have any tournaments planning other than the national qualifier? You plan on going on the national qualifier? I mean, you don't know where it's gonna be, but do you plan on going if depending on what happens, with all this pandemic?
Definitely. I for sure plan on going to the national qualifier. I might do the second qualifier in September if that's allowed, just to get back into this tournament and do the KBBT some more, because it's a fun bracket. It's a different type of animal, and it's so much fun to do. I've got 2 more Iowa Kayak Angler tournaments this year, so I'm looking forward to both of those. And I think that might be about it for my live tournaments this year.
Awesome. Well, Mason, awesome. So we're looking forward to see you, man, whether it's this KBBT this year, national qualifier, or in the actual championship. Look forward to seeing what you put up, man. And again, thank you for giving us the time and sharing your stories with my listeners. I'm sure they appreciate it. For those out there listening, if you made it this far, thank you for joining us and Mason Good on the Bass Kayak and Beers Network, again presented by Douglas Rods. So Mason, have a good one, my friend. Have a great night. Talk to you later, and tight lines.
Yeah, thank you. You too. Have a good one.
Take care, my brother.
Thanks for tuning in to another killer episode on Paddle and Fin. Don't forget to go check out our website at paddle_and_fin.com. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel at Paddle and Fin. If you got a question, comment, want to hear from a future guest on a future episode, feel free to email us at paddle_and_fin@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Paddle and Fin on Facebook and Instagram. Shout out to our show supporters, Angler. The Angler button and app just makes for a better time on the water and creates a virtual logbook for every fishing outing out on the water. Shout out to Rocktown Adventures, located in northern Illinois, for all your kayaking, camping, and hiking needs. TRC Covers, protect your investment. Ketch Products, shout out to Ketch Products. Go to ketchproducts.com and put the Paddle and Fin logo directly on your catch board. Shout out to JigMasters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to JigMasters.com, use promo code PNF20 and save 20% on all your jig and tackle needs.